Hello there. Seems you've stumbled onto my channel. I don't have many subscribers at the time of this upload, so you probably have no idea what you're watching or how you even ended up here in the first place. After all, the sacrosanct algorithm works in mysterious ways. Anyway, let me show you around. Welcome to Meaning in Narrative Games. I'm what you get when someone obsessed with video games steps into academia, realizes it's a dark abyss of misery, and tries another angle. Like any game-obsessed gamer, I love playing games, but I love analyzing them just as much. Seriously, whenever I play a new game, I'm always subconsciously analyzing it in my head, trying to figure out, ooh, what does it all mean? And that's what I'll talk about on this channel. Meaning in video games, and how that meaning is communicated through something that I call ludonarrative storytelling. I'll get into the nitty-gritty details of that in a bit, but basically I define ludonarrative storytelling as a way that games use their rules, mechanics, level design, and other interactive elements to deliver or reinforce narrative messages and themes. Some of you might be raising your eyebrows thinking that this channel will mostly focus on really high, artsy-fartsy, avant-garde games that no one's heard about, but don't worry. I'll talk about AAA titles and indie titles, so whatever's coming out of my mouth isn't totally obscure. This video is a tutorial for my channel, outlining fundamental video game academic literature and deriving my own analytical lens from it. Basically, it's a theoretical foundation upon which I'll build the rest of my channel of a house, and the videos to come will be the walls and the roof, since I, can't afford a house in real life. So, I'll start laying my foundations by introducing the literature of two prominent video game scholars/designers, Dr. Gonzalo Frasca from Uruguay and Dr. Ian Bogost from the United States. In 2003, Dr. Frasca published a paper called Simulation versus Narrative. In it, he introduces and clarifies ludology, that is, the field of video game studies, and identifies reasons why video games should be studied separately from traditional media like books and film. The first reason is that video games are simulational, while traditional media is representational. Now, what exactly does that mean? Let's imagine Microsoft Flight Simulator. What? Oh. I don't actually own Microsoft Flight Simulator, I just use the next best thing. Anyway, a video of a plane flying is representational. It communicates information about the plane like its color, speed, and how it flies, but it ends up in the same result no matter how many times you watch it. On the other hand, a flight simulator is interactive, so a user can influence the plane's flight with a controller. You can make it do stupid circles, even make it crash, but you can only do so within the boundaries of certain rules that have been programmed to simulate the plane's flight model. And Dr. Frasca argues that these rules restricting players are capable of persuasive communication. Remember when video games were still called computer games? No? I do. Boy, sure feels like ancient history. Am I old? Games are software that run on computers, which means that as long as there aren't any bugs, they require an input to create an output, and obey math and logic-based rules during all operations. Dr. Frasca argues that it is through those rules that a game's author is capable of communicating their beliefs regarding what phenomenon the game is trying to simulate. Let's go back to the flight simulator. Someone who programs a difficult flight simulator, in which you need to do all the pre-flight checks, press all the buttons and the switches, may be communicating their beliefs that piloting is a complex role requiring intense training and focus. But someone who programs a flight simulator in which it is extremely easy to fly and maybe do cool tricks might be communicating their belief that flying an aircraft is the purest expression of freedom humanity has access to. Dr. Frasca himself puts it in more academic terms. Whoever designs a simulator that is extremely hard to play is describing his beliefs regarding the simulated phenomenon through the game's rules rather than through events. And this is a similar argument to that of the next text. In his 2008 book Persuasive Games, Dr. Ian Bogost makes a similar argument to that of Dr. Frasca, in that a video game's rules have the potential for persuasive expression. He even introduces a new term for it, Procedural rhetoric. The art of persuasion through rule-based representations and interactions, rather than the spoken word, writing, images, or moving pictures. And to elaborate on this, he brings up a 1975 piece of software called Tenure. Now, I couldn't find a playable version of this software anywhere. I mean, it is 50 years old. I wonder what the graphics are like. But the gist is, in Tenure, players are a newly hired school teacher trying to have their contract renewed by the next year. That's a struggle I can relate to. Throughout the school year, players are met with various situations they need to resolve through multiple choice decisions. This includes things like dealing with no passing in class, parents angry about their students' low grades, and even managing students' difficult personal issues such as home abuse. Now, you'd probably think that prioritizing students' education would get players recontracted, but this is not the case. According to Dr. Bogost, in Tenure, every decision made by the player affects the relationship with the school staff, and it is those relationships that affect the player's chances of success more than anything else. Being too strict in the classroom might make you unpopular with the other teachers, and waiting for a problem to resolve itself might make the principal think you are too indecisive. Tenure was made in 1975, so other than its text interface, rules, and some generic images, it doesn't have any other way of carrying out persuasive expression. So, it is mostly through its rules-based interactions alone that Dr. Bogost claims Tenure makes a convincing argument that personal politics indelibly mark the learning experience. Now, I agree wholeheartedly with Dr. Frasca and Dr. Bogost's arguments that video game rules are capable of persuasive expression. Their arguments actually form the basis of my theoretical lens, but at the same time they are a bit, outdated. Can anyone see why? Me. Yes, you in the front row. Both of them focus on open-ended simulation games, even though most games these days are linear. Yes, that's a very good point. It's important to remember that the video games industry has changed over the last 20 years. Simulation games lacking their own main stories and encouraging replayability through multiple outcomes used to be all the rage. But then The Last of Us came out. Okay, I guess there were other causes too. But games of today are unrecognizable compared to games of the past. Now they have cinematography, motion capture, thousands upon thousands of lines of recorded dialogue, and of course, photorealistic graphics that make you question whether or not this is a game. I mean, look at this! It's so beautiful I could weep. Modern video games are so resource intensive that they take up 40, 50, 100 plus gigabytes on hard drives. So, in order to make things more efficient, studios started making more linear, narrative-focused games as opposed to open-ended games to keep up with industry trends. If most games already have stories with their own messages and themes, what use is there for rules-based persuasive expression? I think that when a game already has a main story presented through text, dialogue, and visuals with its own messages and themes, the role of rules-based persuasive expression shifts. Rather than communicate a message independently, I think rules instead reinforce the themes of the already present story. This leads me to the definition of ludonarrative storytelling that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Ludonarrative storytelling is the phenomenon of a video game using its rules and interactions to metaphorically represent and reinforce narrative themes and messages of the main, conventionally portrayed story. Can anyone else tell me why Dr. Frasca and Dr. Bogost's arguments might be a bit outdated? Me. Yes, you in the back. Both of them discuss how video games help communicate beliefs about real-life social mechanics and phenomena. But how does that apply when I'm playing a game where I'm using a giant sword to smack a chicken fused with a flamethrower? That's a good point. A lot of games these days have very fictional settings or events. But, like literature and film, I think that video games use their fantastical settings, stories, races, conflicts, and more as metaphors for parallels in the real world. And since video games are interactive, I think there are also cases where they use the gameplay situations themselves as metaphors. Which leads me to how I'll be analyzing games on this channel. First, I'll analyze the game's main story as presented through dialogue, text, and cutscenes as if it were a literary text. Then, I will evaluate how the game's rules and interactive scenarios act as metaphors that mirror and reinforce the story's themes by having the player understand them through interaction. The half-sane and probably unhinged ramblings you just listened to are the basis of my mindset when I'm analyzing video games on this channel. While I did and will continue to use research skills I picked up during my time in academia, this is in no way legitimate academic research. I just wanted a place to throw out my thoughts on games, and if you think whatever I make is interesting, then that's a win. Also, I really zipped through Dr. Frasca and Dr. Bogost's writings, but if you are at all seriously interested in video game studies, I'd recommend giving their texts a read. There will be a bibliography at the end of the video. Anyway, that's all for this tutorial. Hope you enjoyed. Look out for more videos to come. Thank you for watching.